be a quick, I'm just gonna go through making a mission, like I usually do, just my sort of method. I know I'm not the most, the most experienced in FMIS, but I generally know my stuff, and I'll try and make it as easy to follow and, a tutorial, sort of like a workshop, so you guys can understand what, like, just the basic steps towards getting a mission started. I'm not, oh, hey, hi. I'm not used to having viewers on my streams, so I might miss your chats at some points. It's on my second screen. So yeah, but I'll try and answer any questions you guys have. Yeah, I'll make the chat bar even. Okay. I guess we can start then. You guys ready? So obviously, you go to your editor, pick any map. Some maps work better than others. Usually I just sort of look through and just sort of start. Okay, so when I go into a mission making, I usually don't have like a full idea yet. I'm mostly just looking through these maps and seeing, what could be interesting. So like this got this river bit, a lot of just desert and seems flat. Got some mountains here and some towns here. Overall, could have some interesting sort of urban warfare there, but it's a bit too spaced out. So I'm gonna, pass on this. I do like Lingo a lot. It's got, some nice town to town, like sort of routes that can be like, objective after objective. You've got a nice airport here. You could fight your way through the towns. Maybe have some sort of naval mission, and then exfil could be at this other airport. Livonia, I don't have the DLC for that. Malden, I really loved Malden. And the Mausk is good, but there's just not a ton of stuff, and I've already done a few missions on there, so it just gets repetitive. I don't know. Anyone got any suggestions for what map you want me to use? I've used pretty much all these maps at least once before. Stratus? Okay, let's use Stratus. Stratus, okay. Yep, it's base game, which is great. And it's honestly, it's a decent map. I think Bohemia did a pretty good job when they made it. Okay, so this is my sort of method of starting a mission. So the first thing I always do is fly really far out, and I just give a nice overlook of the entire place. Obviously, I know Stratus quite well because it's a base game map, and I've been playing it a very long time, so I pretty much already know everything. But if it's a map that I'm not too familiar with, I'll just fly around for a while, looking at all the points of reference, because they have these pop-up things, like it says Air Station Mike 26 here. So you can fly around and see camper again. You just zoom in on all the points of interest, essentially. There's a communal firing range, and just get a nice look for the terrain, because obviously this is where your players are going to be going on. So you want to be making sure you're not picking cliff after, like, just cliffs and valleys and cliffs and valleys. Like, it's not going to be fun if they're constantly having to be pushed up and, like, up mountains and stuff. So you want to be finding nice routes from place to place. So, obviously, I believe most of you, I don't know if everyone here has been playing it, but my mission series, the Shadow Platoon series, where American Special Forces, and there's a whole storyline. I think we're up to mission 12 now. So obviously, keeping that sort of idea, that sort of reference, I'm not going to be having them be a guerrilla group in the middle of the jungle. I'm probably going to have them infill from the Stratus airbase, and then maybe move up this town from Arma Marina, and then maybe have to visit stuff like this. And I think on Stratus, Mike 26 is probably the best place. There isn't a ton of interesting places, but probably my favorites on Stratus is Camp Maxwell, Mike 26, and Camp Rogaine. Those three are probably the most eventful, interesting places. Arma Marina is a nice town, but once again, it's just a town. And then there is this sort of area, but not too interesting overall. And then the firing range is also pretty decent. But so now that we've got a bit of an overview, you want to check your map. And what I do is sort of plan out the mission from the map first, because you don't want to start getting in there and making your mission if you don't have a plan, or you don't have just some sort of idea of what's going to be after. So something you can do, I don't always do it. If you come over into your systems, you can search up cover map. I usually don't, because I don't really mind, but if you want, your players to be only looking at a certain place on the map. You can use cover map, it's pretty easy. Comes up as this box. You can change. You can go to transformation and change its size. So like let's say 1,000 by 500. If you want, you can change its rotation as well. But essentially, like if I place this over here, when you join the game, as a player, that is, this part inside of the box is all that's going to be really revealed on the map. Everything else is going to be darkened out. So it really like pulls the focus on wherever it is you use the cover map. So usually my missions usually span an entire map, and that's what I'm going to be doing here. So I don't really want a cover map, but if you want just a small area of a map to be the focus point, you can use cover map. I always use markers to just sort of get an idea. So obviously I'm going to want air station mic. I can just drop that there for now. I can drop one on Camp Rogaine, and these two are quite far away, so I might actually bring it to Camp Maxwell instead of Rogaine, and we're going to have them start at the airbase, as I said. So I'll drop a flag there, turn it blue, and then say Stratus Airfield, and you can drop it there. I'll make this sort of area the main base, and we'll sort of follow their route up. So pretty much the only way out of Stratus Airfield is through Arma Marina. I might have maybe a civilian element there, maybe additional, maybe an ambush. The gas station is also another interesting place, but it's directly from the airbase, so you don't want. At least I don't. I prefer not to have like instant contact like as soon as they've left the base. So maybe we'll have them drive through the town. Maybe we'll say that the townspeople aren't too favored of them, so they have to drive. Maybe they'll have to drive slowly and check it out. Maybe they'll check out this military range. Either way, they're gonna make their way up, and air station is Mike 26 is gonna be the main point. Then they'll move to Maxwell, and I think if we don't do anything in Arma Marina, they're just going to speed past that. So Mike 26 and Camp Maxwell might not be enough. I would say the sweet spot is two to three objectives. You can do lower if you do big objectives, and you can do more if you're doing small objectives. Mike 26 is going to be a full out firefight. It's a very open area. Going to be a lot of injuries. It's going to take them a while. Maxwell, again, it's in the trees, but it is also a bit more of a fight. So maybe we might make the third objective to make them have to secure LZ Connor, and then this is where they exfil from. So that could be interesting. So I'll drop another warning sign on that. And now we start to think, okay, so these three are going to be our objectives. This is the infill. They're going to be coming up here. They're going to be hitting this. They're going to go here. They're going to hit that, and then they're going to come down to LZ Connor and hit that. So now we can actually make what our objectives are. So turn it to red, and I'll say, anyone got an idea for what kind of objective they could be doing at Mike 26? Could be just a simple clear the base. Could be a steal something. It could be a destroy something. Assassination. Ooh, okay. Assassinate General. What about Camp Maxwell? I think Camp Maxwell we can maybe they'll have a vehicle depot or something like that, and I'll say destroy enemy vehicles. Destroy enemy vehicles, and then LZ Connor we can secure the exfil point. Okay, so now we've got our objectives. Now we actually get to build stuff. So I'll come down to Stratus Airfield because I usually start at the sign point. I'll bring that directly here onto this place. And I already have a few compositions, but obviously if you're starting off, you're going to be making them essentially by like from fresh. So down in number 2, the 2 spot is compositions. Now this is where you find, like your entire, like your groups of just like default stuff, but you've got this 5th or 6th tab called custom, and these are all my compositions I've made. Well, some of them are FMIS compositions, but most of them are what I've made. That's wrong. Where is here? Okay, so FMIS mission framework 15. this is the framework. You'll find it in, I believe that's in the editor file browser, and it's very important because this framework is actually what makes the actual, game work. You can place it anywhere. They're not physical objects. They are game modules. You add these flags though. One of them will be your blue for respawn. So I just had them all selected still. Just bring them out here. So blue for respawn, simple. Now I'll do like a quick go on how to set up a loadout. But so this is my shadow series. You can see in my infantry bit on the right side, I've got Shadow, Alpha, Bravo, and Zeus. These are my sort of general shadow platoon squads that I have set up. So you can see, they've already got everything. It's a composition with all the loadouts, so that I don't have to manually do all the loadouts every single time. And also the Shadow Zeus, which is me. It's what I play as. And of course, you got to give yourself a massive gun, because why not? And also a Shadow Arsenal. Now, this may look like a normal box, but if you double click it and check the attributes, you can go to Ace Arsenal, and you can add stuff in. This is how you make arsenals. And I obviously have already made this. It has everything that people need for their current loadouts, for the shadow loadouts. So you'll need. Oh, I don't know why that's in there. You'll need to make an arsenal depending on what kind of loadouts that you have. So I have Alpine units, which are the all white ones, and then I have an Alpine arsenal because obviously they have different gear from the shadow. I have a Russian squad, and they have a different arsenal because they are different units. I've got a Marsok squad. They've got a different arsenal because they've got different gear. So essentially, you can make different loadouts, different groups for different situations, but you're going to need a different arsenal for each of them because they have different gear. Now I shall show you how to make a loadout. So this guy, he's just a base default armor bearer, nothing special about him. You right click him, edit loadout, Ace Arsenal. And this takes you into the individual arsenal. Now, you can tinker with it, you can add stuff, you can make stuff. Once you make a loadout, you click this loadout at the bottom, and you can save it. So you can see I've got a ton of different, like I've got Shadow, USMC, Russia, Alpine. I've got different loadouts, like each of the different classes, the different roles in the squad for each different type of squad. I've got them saved, so in case a squad gets deleted or whatever, I can bring it back up. So a few things. Obviously, you can just go down the line here on the left and just sort of go one by one and make sure everything's right. But you're going to want to pick a. So let's say we're going to make a marksman. Okay, so well, scroll down here. You can use this top thing and say like by rate of fire, and obviously the snipers are going to be at the top. We'll drop him an M24. Give him a nice sight. Put on some camo, why not? Suppressor, bipod, ammo, nothing in the other barrel. You can give him a pistol. I'll give him a combat axe. Launcher, nothing for a sniper. We'll drop him a cap. As for loadouts, like what they have on them, you're gonna need a few things. So firstly, you're definitely gonna need a radio if radios you're using. We use 343s for general personnel, and then a 152 for like high command, like for the squad leaders. And then you're gonna want bandages. I typically put 10 or 15. This guy has, I've also given him casual clothes. You can't really carry anything on that, but you can. Yeah, general uniforms usually have a little bit of carrying space. So bandages, you want bandages. You want earplugs. You're gonna want with morphine. 10. I usually put about 10 morphine. In the new medical, you need splints and tourniquets. I usually put about 2 splints and 2 tourniquets, but it's in the arsenal, so if people want more, they can take more. Other than that, those are probably the general ones you absolutely need. Obviously, for a medic, you need to give them blood and epis. because they're the ones that are going to be using that. And then obviously you're going to give people ammo and grenades and what else you want to do. So I'm going to apply on this guy and then delete him because I don't actually need him. But that's how you make a loadout. It's very simple. You just need to make sure you get the basics down. And when you're making an arsenal, you just need to go one by one through all of these guys, their loadouts, and just make sure that everything they have on them, you have set as an infinity in this arsenal. Because otherwise, they won't be able to change their gear or get more or get less, you know. So you just need to make sure they have everything in there. I'll give them hunters, why not? Okay, so... Oh, that's specific. Let me give them normal. I prefer... you can also click down here, just this little tick box at the bottom, place vehicles with crew, that way they won't place with crew inside. I prefer not to give them too many, you know, weaponized things, so I'll usually give them maybe 1, possibly 2 HMGs. So as I was saying, I'll give them 3 vehicles, oh, actually not the HMG one, I'll give them 2 unarmed and a armed one. This is something I made a massive mistake of before. Make sure when you're giving them vehicles, you do this. You need to make sure. Okay, Habs, that's fine. You need to make sure that they don't have. You want to go to equipment storage. Make sure they don't have anything in here, because I gave them in one of the missions. I gave them an IFV, and it had javelins in the back of it, and I didn't realize because I had just spawned them in. And I didn't realize that they come with javelins inside of them, so they were destroying the tanks I had. I hope this inspires some of you guys to actually get into making your own missions, and maybe we can get a bit more variety. Generally, you want to give multiple arsenals because otherwise everyone will fight over them, and it is not pretty. Okay, so that is everything here. Everything you want to do here. I might add some flavor here. I might add like some helicopters, but it's not necessary. When you're making squads, one important thing, you want to link them up like this, and whoever the leader is, you got to do this. Double click on them to open the attributes, and here under object control, where it says role description, you want to give their role and then an @ sign and then the squad name, because the mission, the server will read this and then they will attribute this alpha as the squad name. That's how we change the squad names in the lobby screen. And for every single person, you want to, other than the leader, you just want to put their role name in their role description, and that way it comes up saying, so this guy says squad leader, this is team leader, medic, and onwards. You know, that's how it actually shows up. You need to make sure you have it saying alpha. So this guy I have as alpha, and then this guy I have as bravo. Probably two of my favorite prop items is bar gates and razor wire. Sandbags also are very useful, but bar gates and razor wire I use a lot. So I'll pop one there, pop one there. Razor wire. It's a razor wire barrier. You can throw one here and one there. Just, you know, get that sort of checkpoint vibe going. Maybe throw a razor wire there and there. You can, what I'm going to do, this is, okay, so a lot of the times if you have props, if you have sandbags, things that don't need to be moved or interacted with, what you're going to want to do is go to Object Special States in the attributes, and you want to untick Enable Simulation. If you untick Enable Simulation, it's going to come up here with the, you see that sort of, it's a little hard to see with the razor wire, but you see that icon, how it has a red square underneath the razor wire icon? That means it's disabled, the simulation is disabled. And that means that now if someone rams it or something, there's no simulation, so it's not going to break, it's not going to do anything like that. And that just means that in the long run, if you have a lot of props, if you have a lot of objects, it's not going to lag as much. So I usually do that with most of my objects. Obviously, you don't want to be doing that with a bar gate, because the bar gate needs to be able to open, and if you disable simulation, it's not going to open. But you can do enable dynamic simulation. So the difference between simulation and dynamic simulation is, if you have simulation on, it'll work. If you disable simulation, it'll obviously not work. Dynamic simulation means that it only starts simulating that object when players are within a certain range. I believe the default is something like 1,000 meters or maybe 800 meters, but essentially objects don't start working if they're in dynamic simulation. They won't start working until a player is within range. So I'll turn both bar gates to dynamic simulation. That's what you want. Pretty much every enemy that you place, you want them to be in dynamic simulation so that they're not moving around and simulating their, their view and their aim and all that stuff. You don't want them simulating that when there's no one nearby. And we will get to enemy placement right about now. So, a few things with enemies. Typically, at least for me, you can use garrison, which is a feature I'll show you soon if you guys don't know what garrisoning is. You can use garrisoning, you can place, but I would suggest, at least what I do, is at least 50% of the enemies that they encounter, at least 50% should be placed by the Zeus and not in the editor. You can pretty much any static things. So static people inside buildings and people on turrets, people defending positions, I'll place in the Eden editor. Any vehicles, or like if there's a vehicle in placement, I'll place it here. If there's vehicles that are just driving around or patrols, I might put a patrol or two in the Eden editor, but 90% of the time, if you've got patrols, if you've got people walking around, if you've got reinforcements, if you've got vehicles, you're going to want to be placing that in Zeus in real time so that you know when to place it, where to place it, and it keeps the flow going. You really only want to be doing the actual defense in the editor. So garrisoning, what is that? If you go to Systems, F5, top right, Interiors, ZEI, Garrison Building. Now this is a very useful tool. Firstly, we gotta decide what enemies we're going to be going up against. So obviously, I've already said my storyline is up against the Russians. So I'm going to be using the let me check exactly what they're called. The Russian VDV, or the MSV. Systems, Garrison, Interior ZEI, Garrison Building. You're going to click on a building. It doesn't work for every building, but most buildings it does. You're going to click this faction, and it's a very long scroll because it first says all the Blue 4 teams and the independent teams and then the Op 4 teams. So you got to scroll all the way down until I find Russia. You want to be doing your mission structure in the editor. You don't want to be doing it on the fly because I've played a lot of public Zeus. It was my thing before I even joined FMIS. I played tons of public Zeus. I Zeused a lot and I ground commanded a lot. But obviously in that you play for hours and people wait around and you can just give them like a vehicle or something for them to mess around with or play while you set up a mission. But in this, you don't want to ever be making players wait. So it's best to at least set up the mission structure, and then you can, if they need extra things to do, you can send reinforcements and whatnot. But you don't want to be like on the fly making missions. Okay, so back to this. I've selected MSV, infantry, EMR. This is the faction of the different people that they'll be picking out. You can click number of units. So this is a pretty large building, so I'm going to increase it to maybe about 6. And you want to be clicking dynamic simulation, as I said before, and you press OK. And now look at that. You can see they all popped up. They spawn. It pretty much like automatically places people all throughout the building, and it's super useful. Sometimes they do this where they fly a little bit. You can either correct it, but it doesn't really matter because they'll just fall down when they spawn in. But it's just great. I love Garrison. It makes things a lot easier. I don't know why there's always a person in this tiny little thing. It really doesn't make sense, so I'll just bring him out here. Yeah, okay, and then I'm just going to do that a couple more times. So most buildings, so this building has no interior, as you can see, so it's not going to work on that. You can garrison on the big radar dish, radar tower, and they'll just go around here. Anyone have any questions, by the way? What's your personal enemy infantry to personnel rate, like to players, you mean? Typically, honestly, I think players can take just about anything as long as they're not smothered. Depending on where it is, because as long as it's not super open and they're not stuck out into the open, just surrounded by people. If it's a town or some sort of base they're clearing, I will put enemies in about 90% of the buildings. So when you're attacking a building, right, you're only focused on the people in that building, and you're not. It's like an isolated battle. It doesn't matter about outside; it's about the inside. And so if you put just the general amount of people that the garrison will allow in a building, that's usually enough for a single battle inside of a building. And then in a town or something, you just go building by building. So it doesn't really matter overall the percentage. It just matters about the percentage within a building, which is the garrisoning does fine. It like manages that percentage. Um, if you are out in the open or in a field or in the forest or something, I would suggest no more than maybe I mean, it depends how you want the battle going. If you want them easily winning, players can easily do 2-1, 3-1. If you want it to be a hard, bloody battle, about 4-1. And if you want to force them to retreat, usually like 5-1, 6-1. Maybe a bit more, honestly. And you can chuck in vehicles as well. I usually put in around 1 to 2 vehicles, maybe 3 per base. So I'm going to put an APC here and a couple cars. And then I might depends. Okay, I should also have specified. These loadouts aren't very AT based. You can see I've only got one AT guy per team, and they've just got a Moors. So obviously you wanna, depending on what vehicles you have, you're going to want to change your loadouts. So that's my default loadout. I'm going to keep it like that because I prefer two things. I prefer when, one, there isn't too much vehicles that are being exploded, and two, I prefer the players not being able to just, see some like big bad MBT and just be like, oh yeah, pull out the AT, destroy it, let's keep going. I want it to actually like strike fear into them and make them have to run away or make them have to actually think or avoid it. So I might put an MBT near Camp Maxwell or on the road, and that will have to make them divert. It'll make them have to find a new route or retreat or something like that. I don't want them to just get out of their cars, get someone with the AT and pop it out, and then just blow up the MBT and keep going. Because what's the point in that? The AI are really good, but I don't think it's in this. Let me see. Yeah, no, it's not. But when you're in Zeusing, you can go to your systems and you can click. You can search up global, and there is a module called Global AI Skill, and using that you can lower the skill, and it's got multiple different aspects. And I usually do that. I will usually lower their accuracy because if in just the base, like the default, they will snap to you and shoot your head off, and it is not fun. But back to building stuff. CSAT, Russia MSV, turrets. So I really like the chords. The chords are really fun. So I might drop one here. It's just barely tall enough to reach over that. Also, I forgot to put a person on it, so I'll have to select place vehicles with crew, and then chord. And then, yeah, it's nice, simple, right in there. And if they're smart enough, they might spot this chord. They might come around on this side of the hill, take this very undefended tower, and maybe they might use this chord against the enemies, although it would be a death sentence because you would almost definitely get shot off. But you could do some damage with it. Similarly, I'm going to put another chord on here, grab some sandbags. As I said before, make sure to disable the simulation. Just gonna make this sort of thing. Just for some style. And maybe over here in this opening, I'll grab some rounds. There we go. And we'll chuck them over there. And this is pretty much as much. Oh, I'll put a vehicle in there. I'll put an APC, but that's pretty much all you really need to do for an objective. I mean, you might, once we start, I might put a patrol. I'll show you how to do patrols in a second, if anyone's unfamiliar with that. I'll chuck a BTR in here though. Make sure he's on dynamic. By the way, if you're doing garrison, which I did, it is a lot easier. But it does use the default Russian soldiers, and Russians have crazy armor that makes it really hard to kill. So that's the only issue. If you saw before, I had the Russian squads in my custom compositions, and if you look at them, I have this custom composition because I made a Russian squad, and then I individually went into each of these guys' loadouts, and I changed their armor so that it's a less effective armor, so that they don't take a whole clip to kill. These guys only take a few shots, or even lower than that, to kill because they've got just normal armor. So I suggest if you are going to be doing this, and you're using Russians, I suggest you find your own, you make your own squad and lower their armor and then turn them into a composition so that you can copy paste them and place them places. Yeah, just place them around random places, and this will just make it a little more difficult. Sorry, no, a little bit easier, because they won't have to shoot them as much. What I also do generally is I'll find a near place that they're definitely not going to go to, and I will drop a Russian squad here, and I will make sure that they're not on. Oh, didn't mean to do that. I'll make sure that the squad is not on dynamic simulation, because now when the game starts, when I'm in Zeus, I can find these guys on the map and I can copy paste them, and I can use them in the actual game. So that the reinforcements, that's what I'm looking for, reinforcements that I send at you guys won't be crazy armor. As for patrols, you're gonna want to grab a squad, face them in the way you want. Yeah, so you're going to want to, I prefer to put them on 4, although sometimes the AI are stupid and just won't listen. And then put them in column mode, and that way they will be lined up behind each other. They don't do it now, but once they start and become simulated, they will do that. And then, once you've got selected this entire group, you can shift and right click, and you'll create a waypoint. Shift and right click again, you'll create another one, and you can do that to follow the contour of this road, let's say. And if you get here, you can pretty much just bring it back to where they were, and then at this point, the very last waypoint you make, you're going to want to click on it, and up here where it says type, you're going to want to cycle up. Sorry, you're going to scroll up to click cycle, and you accept it as cycle. The image will turn to a little 2 arrows. And that means that once they get to that waypoint, they're going to restart these waypoints. So it's already been an hour. This is the actual mission that I'm going to be making for our next mission. So for 2 reasons. One, I doubt you guys are going to want to watch me doing all that again for 2 more objectives. And secondly, because I don't want all the secrets of the missions to be known by you guys when you're going to be playing it. So I don't think I'll bore you by doing the rest of those on stream, but do any of you have any questions or anything I haven't covered? I will cover how to actually export the mission then. Anyway, let me just do this for church real quick, and then I shall show you guys how to export missions and all that, and how to do the framework stuff. If that's it, let me save this. So these are the 3 files you're gonna need. Firstly, in your documents, you'll find Arma 3. It'll either be Arma 3 or Arma 3 other profiles. Mine is other profiles. Your profile, and then missions, and it will give you a list of all the missions that you have saved. Sorry, the 3rd file, which is under Program Files, Theme Maps, Common, Arma 3, MP missions. And it will just be under MP missions, but I have separated that into PBOs and SQMs.
Connected.
If you open up the TeamSpeak for FMIS, it's bigger. You scroll down, oh, scroll too far down. Here, Arma 3, Editor Framework v15, right click, open file browser. It'll bring across this. In this, there's a bunch of stuff. This is where I upload my missions, but that's not currently important. Your FMIS 15, this is the newest framework. You're going to want to download that and unzip it. And once you unzip it, you get this file. You gotta place. It's called FMIS 15.0 Zeus Enhanced. You place it in your missions folder. Okay, you place it in your missions folder, and it'll come up with this. In this, you have compositions. you need to move all these into your compositions file in your Arma 3. You also need to go back to your profile and click compositions. And then this is where all the compositions you have are. So you're going to need to go into compositions on the FMIS and copy all of this across into this compositions file. On the left here, this is where all your missions are. We find the one that we just on, so Operation Workshop. Open it up. You'll notice that in it, you've got your SQM file that's just for your mission, but you need all the other files. So what you're going to do is this file, which is FMIS 15.0, you copy everything in here, you copy Control-C, Control-V into the file that has the SQM. Now, on this new file, so the file that now has everything in it, which is your Operation Workshop, the actual mission file, you go to Edit These. You've got a few things here. You're gonna need Notepad++. Notepad++ is what it's called. If you don't have it, you need to download it. You edit it with Notepad++. And it'll come up with this. It seems a little complicated at first, but it's not really. You go up to the top, and it says, I've already edited this sort of thing so it has everything I need, but it'll say by, and then enter name here. You just enter your name there. So I've already got a Zen Shadow. I don't know if you guys can see that. It might be a bit small. Let me see if I can zoom in. So by, I've already added Zen Shadow, but you add your name there. And then you insert the mission name. So I will do Operation Workshop. And then this other stuff, you do FMIS there, and then it doesn't really matter about it. You just leave date and location. Then you need to make sure you click Save, top left, and then close this. Now, intro shot, you don't really need to do anything with that or insignia, but if you want to, you can. It's just pointless doing that. Briefing is where it's at. So in here, you have multiple things. You can add in, where it says insert here, just minus that, just get rid of that and write whatever you want to write. So you can do logistics if you have assets. So I'll do 2 times hunter unarmed, 1 times hunter HMG. Simple as that, okay? Execution, I usually don't really bother with doing execution and mission. You can just do one. So I'll say LZ Connor for exfil. Simple as that. Usually I do a lot more for my story missions. Right now, this is really all that matters. Save it, make sure you've saved it, exit, and now you are done with, if I go back to my missions, Operation Workshop, this is all done. This right here is a JPEG. You can, I believe that's an intro shot. You can change this if you want, and you can also, if you want, you can add images here. Like you can add images into this file, and then in the edit these, when you edit briefing, you can actually, there's a command, I've forgotten what it was, you'll have to check with someone else. You can add images if you really want to be fancy with the briefing. I haven't done that in a while though. Anyway, once you've done that, you've saved those things, you saved the briefing. What you're going to want to do is come back into Arma 3. You go up to here, the top of the screen, you click Scenario, Export, Export to Multiplayer. Once you export it to multiplayer, you have to make sure you've already done those other steps where you've added all that framework stuff into the file. Because once you, and you've also done your briefing, because once you export it, it will come out into this file here. This file, which will be wherever your Steam file is, so Steam Apps Common Arma 3, find that directory, and in Arma 3, you'll find MP Missions. And it will come up here. It will you won't have these PBO and SQM files. I have it because I've got a lot of missions and I like to organize. But you'll find this PBO file right here. This PBO file is what you need. So you go back into TeamSpeak. Once you are done with your mission, you go to TeamSpeak. You go down to Editor Framework. You open up the file browser, and here is where you see this PBO file. You drop it into this file browser. It's simple as that. You drop it, make sure it's got a unique name. And then if you want, you drop it into the file browser, and if you want it to be uploaded, you talk to one of the admins. So I believe the only admins that have access to the US server is Cole and Ty. But if you want it up on the Oz server, you can either get me, Golden or Himes, you can talk to us. We'll get it up on the Oz server. Because I make a lot of missions, I have my own file just for my own sake, for my organization, because I don't like it when there's just a ton of missions out here. You see Operation Workshop. I'm going to put it into my own mission. So you see Operation Workshops there. These are all my missions from the Shadow series. So you've got S1 through S12. And yes, so that is pretty much that. I also organize it by putting it into this PBO file, and you can see all the PBOs here. But that is it with uploading it. Once you put the PBO file into your framework, into the framework file browser, you just need to contact an admin and get them to put it up. Yes, that is the
Disconnected.
that's the masterclass. So before I end the stream, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned some things. That's it for the tutorial. Later on today, I'm going to finish that mission so we can play it tomorrow. So thank you guys for coming. I'm going to be ending the stream now. Goodbye.